Yeah, I can't take credit for coming up with it. I'll take credit for falling in love with it once I actually was truly exposed to it. But our founder originally really saw the challenges that were happening with the average American renter and really the average American. And Bankrate.com every year does a survey, and this past year, and it's a survey of basically savings in place. And the stat that got me and pulled me over into it was that 59% of Americans, as of 2025, when we're recording this, could not handle or could not pay for an unexpected expense of $1,000 or more cash.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestoriinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Real Estate Pros podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Kessel, and today I'm joined by someone that I'm looking forward to chatting with, Andrew Bowen, who is the SVP of LeaseLock. So excited to have you on the show today, Andrew.
Well, I appreciate you bringing me on, Michelle. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, of course. I think our listeners are really going to take something away from how you're approaching changing the industry of lease insurance. So yeah, excited to dive in
Good.
with you.
Perfect.
First off, for those who are not yet familiar with you and your world, can you share what your main focus is?
Sure. My main focus, as you mentioned, is lease insurance. I'm our SVP of strategic partnerships. And to give a little clarity on what lease insurance is, it is a way to protect ownership groups from the threat of bad debt that typically a security deposit would cover. So think of the world of security deposit alternatives, but instead of approaching it from a underwriting of risk on a resident basis, we actually underwrite the asset. So it's actually business to business insurance, not a business to consumer insurance product that ultimately is designed to make leasing easier for residents, protect operators from potential litigation and deposit mishandling, and ultimately still provide the protection that ownership really needs and desires from a property.
Awesome. And do you operate nationwide or are you in specific markets?
That's a great question. There are very specific markets where we have to be in. There's other markets that have passed legislation that makes it difficult to work in. But from a perspective, we are a national provider. We can provide it in all 50 states where it's legal, and 49 of the 50 have some, actually 50 of 50 have some type of ability to do it. And as of about a month ago, we actually have been picked up to be able to offer it in Canada as well. So we're actually doing it international now.
Awesome. How did you come up with this idea? How did this business get started?
Yeah, I can't take credit for coming up with it. I'll take credit for falling in love with it once I actually was truly exposed to it. But our founder originally really saw the challenges that were happening with the average American renter and really the average American. And Bankrate.com every year does a survey, and this past year, and it's a survey of basically savings in place. And the stat that got me and pulled me over into it was that 59% of Americans, as of 2025, when we're recording this, could not handle or could not pay for an unexpected expense of $1,000 or more cash. They would have to put it on some type of microloan or credit card or whatever the case is. And when you think about it from a renter's perspective, being able to come up with the money to actually facilitate a move, a first month's rent, potentially last month's rent, and then what I would call a meaningful deposit, a deposit that's actually collecting enough of an essentially self-insurance on that to cover the back end damages, rents, et cetera, would be in play, was just a challenge that he saw and realized that there was a better way. There was a better way to be able to mitigate the risk and spread the cost out while providing it to residents in a way that they don't have to come up with $1,000 for a deposit to be able to move. That hinders a lot of people's abilities. That was the motivation that he came in to bring it.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of the challenges that this poses? Like maybe what is some of the kind of fight back that people give you when you want to offer it to their businesses?
Sure. So the biggest fight back we get is, because again, to give perspective, again, this is a business to business proposition. We don't actually talk to residents at all. Residents don't even know we exist. So the two big ones we hear often are, well, okay, that's the way we've always done it. We've always done deposits. My owner might want a deposit instead. And even though they're willing to drop that deposit to say $250, we can come in and replace that with a certificate of insurance that might cover, depending on what the underwriting is, let's just say $1,500. So we can very often 5x, 10x the coverage on it. But they haven't done it that way in the past. So there's that resistance to change that's kind of famous in rental housing. The other challenge, and this is a real challenge, and I'm glad groups are actually thinking about this, is it is yet another of one of the fees that can be passed on to the residents. Or, really, it does have a challenge with affordability at that point. So even though we're a business to business solution, the vast majority of the time, the cost of the actual insurance certificate is passed on to the resident. And it's something the resident is choosing to do. So the resident is saying, I would rather have a small monthly fee that I'm going to pay on an ongoing basis versus have to outlay this $1,000 in cash. So that the challenge of affordability and how to sell it and how to be able to build it into your pricing structure, whether that is as a all-in inclusive within rent or as an additional fee item, is another challenge that folks have to deal with. But ultimately, both of those can really be rolled up into change management is the hardest part of what we do.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think change is a challenge in any industry that wants to disrupt something.
Yeah, we have to make sure that the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. That's when things start to move on.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned your business to business. Does that mean that the businesses are like leasing offices, or do you work directly with like real estate investors as well?
Yes. That answer is just kind of simply yes. We have operators and owners of real estate of really all kinds and sizes. We provide this solution for the NMHC top 50, multifamily operators. We work with several of the large and publicly traded single family operators, but we also work with, smaller operators that have 10, 15 units. As long as they're on a platform that has the integration we need to be able to see, we can work with businesses of all sizes. And
Awesome. So what, like, besides the insurance piece, is there like another service that you're offering?
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
So our core business is the lease insurance business. Now we actually do have a number of different partnerships where we can work with them and offer ancillary services as well. A great example of that is a company we work with very, very closely called Deposit Cloud. And when we bring Deposit Cloud and Lease, and Deposit Cloud is a cash management platform. So it offshoots or offshores, well, not offshore, but actually takes away the entire management of the deposit process, how it's paid, how it's collected, how it's returned, the entire compliance piece of deposit management. Now, when are you paying interest? Are you paying interest? How quickly is it turned around? Some of the challenges around, okay, if they paid you electronically, there are some jurisdictions you have to pay them back electronically. You can't just cut a check necessarily. So by working with both us and Deposit Cloud, us being the opportunity to avoid a deposit altogether, assuming the resident makes that choice, those residents that make an alternative choice to say, no, I'd rather pay the deposit, then also have that completely outsourced and managed. Really, it removes the entire risk that deposit management places upon both owners and operators completely and transfers it off without cutting back on, the back end protection against bad debt. That'd be our closest one. There's a couple other partners, and we do a lot of reporting and building market research and insights from the data that we're collecting and the data that underwriting generates. But again, our core platform is providing the lease insurance that owners and operators.
Yeah, absolutely. So how does this support the leasing offices and the investors? Would this serve them? It seems like it's mostly for the renters to have, better managing of their finances.
It definitely is one that we stress is that, but I would say that the benefits are actually probably even stronger to the leasing teams and especially the ownership group. So if you look at, let's start with owners because it's my favorite one to explain. When I first joined LeaseLock a couple of years ago, I went back and did some research on kind of where deposits have been and why we've just seen this steady degradation of what we're willing to accept as a deposit. You and I were talking beforehand. I ran properties for 20 years before coming on the software side of the business for 15. So I've been around and I've watched this decline. But if you go back to 2010, the average deposit back in 2010 was basically 1 month's rent, if you go look around. Over the course of those 15 years, I'm being generous in saying the median is now at 500. So it's gone down by about 66 to 70% to chase occupancy. And we got that point of occupancy. We averaged about a point higher than we did back then. The reality is also bad debt went up by 1.5 to 2 percentage points over that time frame. And that's without taking into account the COVID bump and the eviction moratoriums and those kind of things. So what we're able to do from an ownership perspective is to be able to step in and give an owner an opportunity to take an average bad debt coverage of, call it $500 from the deposit, and put the burden of that back still on the resident, but then also have a coverage level now that could be $2,500. Again, every deal is underwritten individually. Coverage levels matter relative to rent. So I'm going to use that as an example. That $2,500 in coverage now, whether that is someone who was a higher risk individual or a low risk individual that happened to have a family just situation change. People get married, people unfortunately break up, job changes happen. We're able to basically give a 5x coverage to an ownership group. There's also the opportunity to make a small amount of ancillary income on it. This is insurance. Insurance is designed to make you whole, not to drive a profit. But we do work with our carriers to make sure that they understand that there is a level of administration that owners and operators have to have in this process, and they should have the opportunity to recoup those costs. So it's not uncommon for us to see, valuations where we start to return, 50 to 100 basis points in bad debt that people are losing today. You can put a cap rate on that. And, for a portfolio of, 5,000-ish units, you could be literally talking about $1.5 million, 2 million plus in value that's being returned to owners. There's a huge value there. The other one with the operations team is twofold. Number one, now you're able to market yourself as a zero deposit community. So you're attracting another layer of renter, again, without passing that risk back on to owners. The leasing professionals, since we look at the asset and we underwrite this risk, we look and say, okay, how likely is it that anyone in this property is going to behave this way? Not, is Mrs. Smith going to behave this way? And that's a distinction between us and everyone else out there. We're the only ones who really underwrite the risk on the asset rather than having that person go apply at an outside space. So they've gone from your leasing office now they're on some website from a guarantor platform or a surety bond. Your salespeople have lost control of that sale. Ours, they can be very confident the cost is X, and X is always X. It doesn't change for that property. So it actually empowers them and gives them another way to attract residents, as well as smooth out the leasing process and make sure that is as smooth and hiccup free as possible when it needs to be, but also has the steps in place that, okay, if we see, a denied renter from a screening perspective is not eligible for our program. There's a reason you do them. You'd probably still be denied at that point. So hopefully that gives a little more clarity on it, because actually one of the things that attracted me to this business was that it really does have a clear and distinct benefit for every constituent of rental housing. The residents to the operators to the owners are all going to get a benefit.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. And thank you for providing all that information. So, what are you most focusing on solving or scaling to next in this business?
Okay, so what we're focused on right now and solving and scaling for is actually providing the markets with the insights that our underwriting platforms are actually generating. So being able to, a lot of us come from a data science background and a market research background. We have a chief economist on staff and Greg Willett, who's a longtime rental expert. Our CEO oversaw a number of the analytics platforms for a large SaaS provider in the industry for years. That's where I came from as well in between. So really what we're focused on is bringing that to scale to the markets, looking at such things as, and Michelle, don't quote us on this because we're still workshopping this name, but really looking at what we call unfulfilled leases, which is, think about all of your skips and all of your evictions, which you're probably tracking today. But what about also all the people who just moved out early and maybe paid a lease break or paid their lease termination fee, et cetera? What's that risk and exposure we see there? We actually just came back from NMHC Red Sea OpTech today, where we actually, our CEO, our chief economist, and myself presented some of the findings here from a Dallas survey we did, or market case study we did. And we were finding that across multiple operators, multiple properties aggregated up, the unfulfilled lease percentage was over 20% over a 18-month period, which as a former operator, I didn't trust the data. I'll be dead honest. I was like, I'd be fired if I was losing 20% of my leases. So actually digging through and checking it was true. And we saw it in multiple markets. It wasn't just Dallas. So even if you think about the 10% of households that are going through some type of eviction in Dallas right now, according to Evictions Labs data and the Dallas Advocacy Center for Eviction, that's still double. That's just kind of missing on people's pro formas. It's not being caught in their budgets. And then we're looking and providing, okay, well, what are the early warning signs we might be able to provide and see We're not ready to definitively call these early warning signs, but we've seen a couple of things that have some really strong correlations, not causation, but correlation to unfulfilled leases. Um, the one that was the most surprising to me, a 60-day leading indicator of it, was the percentage of leases that have a concession applied versus non on that. When that number starts to climb, regardless of the size of concession and regardless of the type of concession, it's a 60-day leading indicator that you're going to have more unfulfilled leases coming up. So it's things like that that we're really focused on, as to how do we bring more visibility to risk, but also provide the tools that allow you to see it coming down the road and think about, okay, what's the next thing I should do to help avoid that risk? That's really what we're excited about right now.
Yeah, amazing that you guys have been gathering all of that data and are able to prove those points.
We're not ready to put it in stone just yet, but there's
Okay.
it's really promising.
Right? Awesome. So, as far as your target audience, I know it's business to business, but is there yeah, can you expand on what the ideal client for you would be?
Sure. So, I mean, the ideal client is someone who has a portfolio of, let's call it 100 units or more to spread that risk out, or is working on a platform. Like, there are some of the single family home management platforms. Um, I think Apply is a good example of this, where we're actually built and integrated into their workflows. So we're underwriting their broader risk. But ultimately, it's 100 units or more. If it's a multifamily, it'd be 100 units on a single asset. Obviously, the portfolio. Typically, the audiences that are the decision makers for us and are really thinking about this are usually either the head of operations or the CFO. They see it from two very different lenses, but they both get it. And then we spend a lot of time with the institutional investors too. So there's a lot of the institutional investors that we're working with that are really asking their operators to think through this so that they can help mitigate that risk that they're experiencing. The unfulfilled leases stat that I was bringing about, there's a couple that are very, very interested in that research that we're doing and have been fortunate. We've been fortunate enough they've been working alongside us to kind of ferret that through. But yes, I mean, it's really anyone who is interested in figuring out a way to provide housing at a rate that is less impactful on residents' overall total wallet while still protecting the back end and making sure that obligations are actually taken care of at the end of the day. We're a great fit for them.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. Sounds like you guys are, yeah, really creating something innovative here for people.
Brian, I appreciate you noticing that, Michelle.
Yeah, of course. So, how can people do you offer trials? People just sign up? How does it work if someone's interested?
So if someone's interested, I mean, the best thing to do is go ahead and you can either fill out the interest form at leaselock.com. Think of it just like you think of it at leaselock.com. I'm also happy to answer questions individually. My email is my first name dot last name at leaselock.com. It is an insurance product. Oops, it is an insurance product. So it's not something that you're going to be able to go on a website and be able to say, okay, well, what does this cost? So it's one of the, if I had a magic wand and could wave and could change one thing, I would change this, but I'm never going to be able to change this. We've got to underwrite the risk that's in place. So one of the conversations we very often have with owners and operators of real estate is to explain kind of the process and the program, how it works well, how does the claims process work, how do you monitor it, what's the filing periods, all those kind of details, and then we'll talk about, okay, to get to a price point, we need to do the underwriting, which means we're going to ask for some information about the property. When data feeds are available to be set up, we're going to set that up. We're going to underwrite and see what the risk is. And then we come back to property or to owners of properties and be able to say, hey, here are your options. One property might want a $500 certificate of insurance per lease. Another one might be $3,500. Those are clearly going to be two different price points for very good reasons on that. So when you go, there's lots of information on there, lots of learner videos. You can see that. We're happy to answer that, but we're not the kind of business where you're gonna be able to log on and immediately see a price because it is bespoke for every organization or every portfolio.
Yeah, of course. That makes sense. So before we wrap up here, if someone wants to reach out, connect, learn more, where can people find you?
Okay, so a couple different spots. Obviously, leaselock.com. I'm also very active on LinkedIn and doing a lot of thought leadership out there. So please feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm andrewbowen.com on LinkedIn. And then obviously, again, my email is andrew.bowen@leaselock.com. And I'm happy to have conversations with whoever would like it.
Perfect. Well, really appreciate your time, your story, and your perspective. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me on, Michelle. I enjoyed it.
Of course. And for those listeners tuning into the show, if you got value, make sure you've subscribed. We've got more conversations coming with operators like Andrew who are building real businesses, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.